From Washington, D.C., this is the 23rd Annual David Burke Awards.
Welcome to the 23rd Annual David Burke Distinguished Journalism Awards. Today, we honor individuals from throughout the U.S. Agency for Global Media who exemplify what it means to be a journalist. They selflessly report the truth every day to people who need it in countries that actively try to stifle any information that doesn't agree with their narrative. My name is Laurie Moy, and it is a pleasure and an honor to be a part of this ceremony and to celebrate some of the best and brightest journalists in the USAGM family. Today, we will meet these brave journalists, see them in action, and hear from those who know them best. But first, it is my pleasure to introduce USAGM's Chief Executive Officer, Amanda Bennett, to say a few words.
I am so grateful to be here today, celebrating the exemplary work of an extraordinary group of journalists. Today, we recognize more than their proven journalistic excellence. We honor the courage they've shown, the sacrifices they've made, and their fearlessness in the face of adversity. Our mission at USAGM is to inform, engage, and connect people around the world in support of freedom and democracy. Today's honorees are doing this at significant risk to their comfort, freedom, and in many sad cases, even their lives. The brave work you do to provide accurate, reliable news and information around the world remains vital, while growing increasingly dangerous. However, without hesitation, you boldly rise to meet the challenges, day after day. The remarkable journalists we're recognizing today represent the courage, integrity, and professionalism of our networks, and they're some of the world's very best. From the Middle East broadcasting networks, reporters suffering alongside their friends, families, and country people to provide a voice for the people of the region. From Radio Free Asia, a dedicated team covers elections, countering misinformation with objective, truthful reporting at a time when it's most desperately needed. From the Office of Cuba Broadcasting, two journalists document the fate of their fellow Cubans in the most perilous positions around the world and amid dangerous situations at home. From Voice of America, a journalist stands firm in the face of invasion and displacement, never flinching, even when death and destruction surround her. And from Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, a veteran journalist's dedication to the truth and defiance in the face of imprisonments. Congratulations to all these wonderful winners. And while we're here to celebrate our journalists, I also want to recognize the individuals who help deliver their critical coverage to millions of people around the world. Thanks to the hard work of USAGM's Technology, Services, and Innovations Office, TSI, your critical reporting can be found on the airwaves, on satellite, online, and on media partner stations in more than 100 countries around the globe. And with the support of the Open Technology Fund, audiences in restrictive media environments can safely access information, while journalists working alongside them can safely communicate with sources for factual content that hit home. OTF and TSI are part of the intricate fabric that make it possible to fulfill our mission. The individuals we honor today represent USAGM around the world. They represent freedom and courage in places where people's agency may otherwise feel lost, and represent the power of press freedom and truth in the face of adversity. It's an honor for me to present this year's David Burke Distinguished Journalist Awards.
Thank you, Amanda. Now, without further ado, let's get started with the awards. One of the most significant stories of 2023 was Hamas's surprise attack on Israel on October 7th. Here to present an award to some of the brave journalists covering this story from inside Gaza is Middle East Broadcasting Network's Vice President of News, Mohammed AlBardawil.
I am incredibly proud of Wissam, Saif and Amir for their incredible bravery and professionalism. Wissam has been the distinctive voice of Al-Hurra in Gaza for many years, with Amir by her side. No matter the crisis, they are there, reporting the facts to audiences around the Middle East and North Africa. When October 7th occurred, Wissam's reporting was needed more than ever. She produced factual and vivid reports through her descriptive storytelling and Amir's camera. Her only request at times was for a few hours of rest. She worked closely with Amir to film everything they could to tell the story of the Gazan citizen. They were relentless, risking their lives, sleeping in cars, and always ready for the next challenge. When the non-stop coverage became too much, MBN hired a second correspondent based in Gaza. Saif, who is an excellent journalist, quickly and expertly joined Al-Hurra team for seamless coverage of the events in Gaza. Wissam, Saif, and Amir took Al-Hurra's viewers on their journey and that of the most Gazans as they moved with their families from Gaza City to Khan Yunis to Rafah, while they reported on challenges like finding shelter, getting food, water, and electricity. They also dealt with those issues for themselves and their families. In a location cut off from the world, Wissam, Saif, and Amir told the stories of the Gaza people not only to Al-Hurra audience, but also to the world through USAGM and other entities. MBN and our audience are deeply indebted to each of them for their dedication, talent, and journalistic skills. Wissam, Saif, and Amir, I am so proud that you are representing MBN for this year's David Burke Award. Thank you.
On October 7th, 2023, the world watched in horror as Hamas militants stormed into Israel on a murderous rampage. Al-Hurra television immediately shifted to a non-stop breaking news format, and staff throughout the network worked day and night to cover the developing events. But it's MBN's Gaza team that was really put to the test. Wissam Yassin, Saif al-Swaiti, and Amir al-Turk were in Gaza when the borders closed. Together, they have met the demanding physical and emotional requirements to cover this story. Their reporting has covered everything from military operations and Israeli airstrikes in northern Gaza to the confusion, anger, and fear of the Gazan people following the Hamas attacks. They've told stories of impassioned first responders and exposed human traffickers and profiteers taking advantage of civilians desperate for food, medicine, or escape. They've shown what life is like in Gaza, highlighting the ways people are working to survive. And their compelling footage and reports have been shared throughout USAGM's networks, providing this exclusive look from inside Gaza to audiences around the world. The sacrifices this Gaza team have made are rare, even for war correspondents. Not only do they have to consider their own safety, they also have to think of their families. As Gazans were told to move south, these brave journalists would pack up and move their families while continuing to work, covering the latest developments. Between reports, Wissam built a tent for her family in Rafah. After filing stories, these reporters would turn to the task of finding food and medicine for their families. They aren't just reporting on this crisis, they are living it. So for their unwavering commitment to the truth, and for the sacrifices they are making in support of the mission, Wissam Yassin, Saif al-Swaiti, and Amir al-Turk are this year's MBN Burke Award winners.
Hi, I am Wissam Yassin, Al-Hurra correspondent in Gaza. I want to thank the USAGM for this award, as well as their appreciation and consideration for our work and efforts. This award gave me a glimpse of hope. It was a seeking light in the middle of the darkness. I also want to thank the MBN and Al-Hurra, especially my mentors, Mohammed bin Rabi', and Mohammed AlBardawil for their constant support and help. I owe this award to all of Al-Hurra crew who do their absolute best to make this war perfect. Thank you very much.
من مدينة رفح آخر مراكز الإيواء للنازحين بالطبع بنوجه كلمة شكر وعرفان لمؤسسة USAGM وكذلك أيضا لإدارة قناة الحرة وطواقمها على دعمهم وتشجيعهم الدائم لنا في عملنا في تغطية الحرب الإسرائيلية على قطاع غزة. طبعا نتحدث احنا غطينا الحرب منذ بدايتها وحتى اليوم مستمرين في التغطية، وهذه الجوائز بتدعمنا وبتعطينا طاقة لنستمر في عملنا وتغطيتنا الصحفية. سيف السويطي، صوت قناة الحرة من قطاع غزة.
مرحبا، أنا أمير الترك مصور قناة الحرة وشبكة MBN في قطاع غزة. بتوجه بالشكر لإدارة MBN ولا USAGM على منحنا هذه الجائزة للصحافة المميزة لعام 2023. نحن عين الحقيقة إلى العالم.
Congratulations to the entire Gaza team. Your bravery and your dedication make us proud to call you colleagues. Next, we have Bay Fang, President of Radio Free Asia, to recognize the vital work of a team of journalists whose impact has been instrumental in countering Chinese government misinformation.
It is my great pleasure to present Asia Fact Check Lab as RFA's Burke Award winner. It was just over a year ago when we launched the unit, yet in such a short time they've only exceeded expectations, gaining rapid success and the respect of policymakers around the world. Working across time zones and locations around the globe, from Taiwan to the US, Fact Check's nimble team does urgent work. They serve as a vital counterforce to CCP propaganda, helping audiences navigate the muddy waters of the Chinese information space. The team's work was especially critical during the election process in Taiwan, which served as the first major test for the young team. They met the moment head-on, disproving viral conspiracy theories and exposing eye-opening disinformation trends on social media. On behalf of RFA, I couldn't be prouder of the team behind Asia Fact Check Lab. You're making an impact that's needed, and you fully deserve this award. Congratulations.
In late 2023, Taiwan was in the crosshairs of a massive Chinese government disinformation effort. As the island prepared for its 2024 presidential elections, the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, was inundating the island with sophisticated disinformation tactics aimed at seeding conspiracy theories and sowing doubt in the minds of Taiwanese voters. But thanks to the efforts of Radio Free Asia's Asia Fact Check Lab, audiences across the island and on the mainland were able to sort fact from fiction. The success of the Asia Fact Check Lab, which was just a year old at the time, has been recognized by the highest echelons of Taiwanese politics. In a January news conference ahead of the elections, Taiwan's Foreign Minister Joseph Wu spotlighted the lab's investigative report exposing fake polls created by the pro-China online media outlet Finger Media. The lab also revealed that the CCP planted narratives aimed at increasing skepticism about the U.S. commitment to Taiwan, fear of friction among U.S. allies in the region, and anxiety about a conflict with China. Most recently, the lab launched a video service for its Chinese audiences to expand its reach, not just in exposing lies, but in revealing the concerted and calculated effort by the Chinese government to spread those lies. And their coverage goes beyond Taiwan. The Asia Fact Check Lab has tracked the Chinese government's efforts to amplify Russian narratives about the Ukraine war. In total, the Asia Fact Check Lab has produced close to 200 reports during the pivotal year of 2023, including fact-check pieces, media watch reports, and in-depth analysis. For their dedication to the truth and their steadfast efforts to keep audiences informed, the Asia Fact Check Lab is this year's RFA Burke Award winner.
I want to thank Asia Fact Check Lab's talented staff in Taiwan and in the United States for their tireless work in the past year, especially in the Taiwan president election.
Disinformation is spreading everywhere, and freedom of speech is being exploited to subvert democracy. But through interviews, research, and open source investigation, we make sure that public information is accurate and trustworthy.
Our journalists have met the challenges head-on, helping audiences around the world discern facts from false and misleading information.
Combating a totalitarian government's disinformation campaign is difficult.
But we're committed to providing quality fact checks to our audiences in Asia and around the world.
We are proud to be part of this incredible team with whom we share this recognition. We also want to express our gratitude to the U.S. Agency for Global Media and offer our congratulations to the other Burke Award winners from RFA's sister networks.
It's an honor.
It's an honor.
It's an honor.
It's an honor to accept this year's Burke Award. Thank you.
Congratulations to everyone in the Asia Fact Check Lab. Your dedication to the truth is just remarkable. We move now to the Office of Cuba Broadcasting and Director Sylvia Rosabal, who is here to honor two Marti reporters whose work covering immigration issues provided critical information to Cuban audiences. Sylvia?
If you walk up to senior reporter Ricardo Quintana and photojournalist Jesus Acosta in the OCB newsroom and ask them about the stories they most remember, they will quickly respond with a description of one of the many heart-wrenching immigration stories they've covered over the last few years. There's a mixture of sadness and determination as they recount the intensity and stark reality of the migrant crisis and the stories of just some of the thousands of Cubans who have fled home in search for a better, safer, and freer life. They've encountered stories that resonate deeply, perhaps because both are exiles, Ricardo from Cuba and Jesus from Venezuela, and know firsthand the challenges of leaving home to start life anew. These assignments are meant to shed light on the intensity and reality of the migrant crisis and offer our audience in Cuba an unfiltered look at the day-to-day challenges faced by fellow Cubans who flee the island. It is the side of the immigration story no one is telling them, be it the perilous journey through the dense jungle of El Darién in Panama, or the harsh realities faced by immigrants in the border town of Matamoros, Mexico. Ricardo and Jesus immediately recall the names of those whose gripping stories they reported on. Beneath it all, you can sense the deep empathy and passion they both have for their work. Ricardo and Jesus remind us of the power of storytelling, showcasing their dedication to delivering impactful and informative reporting on complex global issues. Their work highlights journalism's ability to inspire change and foster empathy.
In November 2023, the city of Tapachula, Mexico, was in crisis. Tens of thousands of migrants, including hundreds of Cubans, making their way north to the United States, were stuck. The city, just north of the border with Guatemala, has become known as America's waiting room, and many would-be immigrants are forced to wait out their pending status in the Mexican town. Here, instead of a passage north, many migrants face strict limitations on their movements, poor living conditions, and few job prospects, all while they wait for what could be years for immigration hearings. To give their audiences a complete view of the situation, Ricardo Quintana and Jesus Acosta traveled to Tapachula to report on the crisis firsthand. Together, they produced a gripping 5-part series for Marti's digital platforms. They also filed multiple daily Facebook Live reports, wrote stories for the Marti Noticias webpage, and made daily appearances on Radio Marti newscasts and talk shows. Their reporting provided Cuban audiences on the island with critical information about the immigration crisis and the realities of the trek to the U.S. Together, the team dispelled rumors and reported the facts, speaking to Cubans trying to immigrate north about their journey, the challenges, and the outlook. The team of Quintana and Acosta have had impact reporting on this topic before. In 2022, the pair won a Suncoast Regional Emmy for their documentary series, Reporting from the Border of Matamoros. For their tenacity,
their dedication to separating fact from rumor, and for their journalistic excellence. Ricardo Quintana and Jesus Acosta are this year's Office of Cuba Broadcasting Burke Award winners.
I am deeply honored to accept this award and want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the OCB and the agency's directorate for this recognition. It is truly a privilege to be acknowledged among such talented individuals. As you know, storytelling is the most powerful way to connect with our audience in Cuba, and that is what I love to do. Ms. Vivian Martinez and Mr. Joe Cardona, thank you for your endless love and inspiration. To Clara, my wife, who have stood by me through every high and low, thank you so much. I must extend my thanks to photographer and editor Jesus Acosta, whose dedication and hard work made this achievement possible. Finally, I am accepting this award with a renewed commitment to continue telling stories that resonate and inspire, focusing on the plight of the oppressed people of Cuba. Thank you so much.
Deseo expresar mi agradecimiento a USAGM por la oportunidad y el honor de recibir este reconocimiento. Hemos trabajado arduamente para brindar al pueblo de Cuba información veraz y con sentido humano. Quiero agradecer especialmente a mi colega y amigo Ricardo Quintana por su profesionalismo y extraordinaria capacidad periodística. Asimismo, agradezco a Joe Cardona y al equipo de OCB por el apoyo brindado a lo largo de todos estos años. Mantendremos nuestro compromiso de seguir informando al pueblo de Cuba. A todos, muchas gracias.
Thank you, Ricardo and Jesus, for that incredible reporting. From Cuba to Syria, we now turn to Voice of America's acting director, John Lippman, to introduce a journalist whose courage and resilience helped illuminate the realities of war in and around the city of Afrin.
For the past 6 years, Nuraz Rasho has called a displaced people's camp in northern Syria her home. When Turkish tanks rolled into her primarily Kurdish village in 2018, her home was hit and her father was killed. She and her family were forced to flee. She says her father's death made her realize the importance of her work as a journalist. Nuraz reports from northern Syria on the lives of those displaced people around her. One example was about a man who suffered permanent injuries from a bomb blast, but who had learned to play the drums. As her story about him circulated throughout the camp, he was encouraged to perform for residents, changing his and their perspectives on his disability. Her stories have also brought to light the physical challenges of living with limited resources and the emotional toll of being displaced. She has an unwavering commitment to telling those stories. Nuraz Rasho is a voice for people displaced by conflict. She says that is what fuels her determination to continue her reporting despite her personal circumstances. VOA is proud to present this year's Burke Award to Nuraz Rasho for her courage and tenacity and for serving as a steadfast voice for those whose stories would otherwise go unheard.
From inside a dusty tent in Afrin, Syria, VOA contributor Nuraz Rasho has been documenting a story few others are telling of the daily lives of those in northern Syria living in camps for the internally displaced. Nuraz was forced to move to the Shahabab camp with thousands of others after Turkish troops took over the region in 2018. And her family's struggles were magnified when her father was killed during the military bombardment. The death of her father and her forced relocation marked a shift in Nuraz's approach to reporting, and her dedication to providing reliable and accurate news reached new levels. Her working conditions are challenging, to say the least. She files stories for VOA's Kurdish service between intermittent electrical outages in the camp. And with food and water in short supply, she must often balance work and survival.
But thanks to her intrepid reporting, VOA's Kurdish service has provided its audiences with critical coverage from the region, exposing the realities of life in the camps, including everything from preparing for winter to exposing human rights violations. While most international news organizations have stopped their coverage of the aftermath of the Syrian conflict, Nuros's reporting brings the narratives of those affected by war to light. As she navigates the challenges of life in the Shahabab camp, her reporting serves as a bridge between the displaced community and the rest of the world. Her unique perspective, both as an observer and as a participant, adds a layer of authenticity to her reporting that resonates with audiences. For this courage, resilience, and unwavering commitment to reporting the news in the face of personal tragedy, Nuros Rasho is this year's VOA Burke Award winner.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, allow me to thank the Chief Executive Officer of the United States Agency for Global Media, Ms. Amanda Bennett, and the Acting Director of Voice of America, Mr. John Lippman, and all those who contribute to honoring me with this valuable award. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to all the colleagues in the Kurdish service. Please allow me to share with you my speech in Kurdish as well. خانم و رزدارن عزیز رومت و شانازیه که مازنش بو من کو از لایقی و خلاطه دیتم کار من کو اف 7 سالن لگل دنگ امریکا بردوام دیکه جبو من در فتک گرینگه کو از به زمان خوی کردی کار روزنامه گریه دیکم گاوا من دست به کار که لگل دنگ امریکا دبالا من دابو کو از جمجارن شر پرتر چیروک و رنگینیا کواره من عفرین نشان داده چیکم لی پردم درباس نبو ایریشا ترکی لی دجی هرمی دست بی بو دوی ایریشه ده من بچاف بیر و کمیرایه گلک هستین دلسوجو به ایش جان کرن یک جی هون دا کرنا باوی من بو جبر تو بارانا ترکیه وی دمی از لکار بوم من روشا خلکی جبر شرد شوپان لی من نکاری خو بگینم گنده خواه پشتی داگیر کریا ترکیه جعفری نیره لی در بدریه من گلک چیروک را گهاندن کو همان چیروکا من بوجی لی او یک جبو من نبو کلم و آستنگی ترسیوه از پرتر فکریم کو چاوا دکارم ببم دنگی نزم یه جواکا کو از دناف دامه هر وها دنگی امریکا کو تکنه دزگاه را گهاندن یا نونتوایی لسر عرده روش عفرینه او هرم کردی اندن دشوپینه او جیبو نافگین و دنگی کسین و جواکه جبو آرامی آشتیه و بهفراش جان کرنه نه تنی العفرینه و رجاوا لسوریه جی من زانستن پزشکی و لابراتواری خوانده بو من لینزا میکروسکوب و کمیرای به چاوه خو کر یک دیسا جی آرمانج بالکشاندن بو لسر خمو خواشین جواکه جبر کو از باور دکم راگهاندن دکارا به بدرمان راگهاندن دکارا دنگی نزم جی بلند بکه دداویه ده از وی خلاطه دیاری دار زاروک و جنین کومن کار بیا چیروکین وان پاروا بکم دیاریا وان دکم دیاریا به تایبت زاروک و جنین عفرینه دکم هر وها سپاسیا همو کسین کو لگل من کدانه و بونه پشگر جبو من به هیوی سباروجه که خوش آزاد و آشتیانه.
Congratulations to Nuruz Rasho for this recognition that is so well deserved. And last but certainly not least, we have Steve Capus, President of Radio Free Europe Radio Liberty, to recognize the contributions and sacrifices of veteran journalist Alsu Kormasheva, who's currently detained in Russia.
Hello and warm regards from RFERL in Prague. I want to thank USAGM for recognizing the extraordinary sacrifices and dedication of our colleague Alsu. I also personally want to thank Amanda Bennett for standing with Alsu's family through these incredibly difficult times and being a powerful advocate on the world stage on behalf of imprisoned, harassed, threaten journalists. The Burke Award is deeply meaningful to all of us. I'm standing in an important part of the RFERL newsroom. This is the Tatar Bashkir service. This is where AlSu should be. This is her desk. For more than 20 years, she's worked here. Now, instead, for more than 6 months, she's been inside a Russian prison. It is beyond time to free AlSu. A family has been ripped apart. Pavel, Bibi, Miriam should be reunited with AlSu. And the people who work in this service deeply miss their colleague. She should be back here in this chair. It's time to free AlSu.
For decades, the Russian government has targeted journalists from Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty in an effort to silence the truth. And since the 2022 Russian invasion in Ukraine, the Kremlin has taken extraordinary measures to ensure that domestic opposition to the war is silenced. So when AlSu Kurmasheva, a veteran journalist with RFERL's Tatar Bashkir service, co-edited a collection of 40 stories of Russians who opposed the war in Ukraine, the Russian government's censorship machine kicked into gear. In June 2023, after visiting her ailing mother in Kazan, Russia, AlSu was arrested by Russian security agents, accused of violating Russia's infamous foreign agent and military censorship laws, and has begun her now months-long detention. She faces up to 15 years in prison. So what has she done to garner these charges? AlSu has devoted her career to protecting the Tatar language and culture, like this Tatar language teaching portal she helped create in response to the Russian government's restrictions on teaching the language. She also has sought to give voice to those the Kremlin would prefer to make voiceless, including the victims of domestic violence in Russia. This online report, the development of which she led, includes a series of stories and interviews mapping domestic violence across the country. AlSu is highly regarded by her colleagues throughout the organization, and her courage in the face of Russian government intimidation and detention, directly tied to her work for RFERL, is an inspiration. Her determination to overcome the Putin regime's efforts to crush her spirit is evident. In a recent letter from her prison cell in Kazan, she wrote, "I will never come to terms with waking up here instead of next to my children and husband." After the first phase, coma, came the second, universal love. Now I'm in the third phase, constructive anger and a desire to fight. I feel a surge of strength. For that strength, and for her unshakable commitment to independent, uncensored journalism, AlSu Kurmasheva is RFERL's Burke Award winner.
Greetings from Prague. Recently, at the National Press Club in Washington, my daughters were asked if they wanted to become journalists. They smiled and replied, "There's probably a safer way to make a living." Their mother, AlSu Kurmasheva, began her career with RFERL's Tatar Bashkir service in 1998. Her commitment to free speech, preserving culture, and advocating for women's rights in her native Tatarstan has shined through in her journalism for more than 25 years. She has extensively covered ethnic minorities and gender issues, work that is increasingly frowned upon by the Russian government. Personal freedom, free speech, and expression, these same values led AlSu to American citizenship. Little did she know that one day she would be imprisoned, wrongfully imprisoned in Russia, for championing these noble causes. In a recent letter published by a newspaper in Tatarstan, AlSu wrote, "For 25 years, I have taught the Tatar language to children and young people. Tatar language teachers and parents showered me with gratitude for the Tatar language course that I helped develop, a course that was taught in Tatarstan schools. In an instant, all of this has become a crime. We know that AlSu is not a criminal. We know that she is behind bars because of her work at RFERL and her American citizenship. Russia has made it explicitly clear that it's targeting Alsu because of her reporting. The US government should not hesitate to designate Alsu as wrongfully detained and explore every possible avenue to secure her speedy release from Russian captivity. The profession of journalism should not be synonymous with danger. Children should not fear that merely sharing people's stories could result in their parents or themselves being imprisoned. Alsu and her family deeply appreciate this recognition, and we extend our heartfelt gratitude to the entire USAGM family for your unwavering support in our fight to free Alsu.
Thank you, Pavel. We hope Alsu will be released soon. Well, there you have it. This year's David Burke Distinguished Journalism Awards. Congratulations to all the winners. Your courage, your excellence, and professionalism serve your audiences and exemplify USAGM's mission to inform, engage, and connect people around the world in support of freedom and democracy. And to everyone who joined us today, thank you for watching.